Hey class, welcome back. Today, notes for September 1st. We're going to be getting into the midterm today. For today, the midterm is going to comprise of an online exam. The online exam is going to be held on quizzes. Now, if you don't know what quizzes are, I've got probably the link up on the main screen. Log into the quizzes. Once you've logged in, we'll start the test. After you finish the test, you have the rest of the period devoted to you to finishing any outstanding assignments that we have to get done. So if you have art histories that you gotta be turned in, if you have sketchbook designs that have not yet been done, finish those up, get those turned in, and then finalize on projects so that those are ready to turn in, good to go, and I will see you guys after that. Now, this is an assessment midterm, so it is a test. That test is graded as a normal assessment. Make sure that you answer the questions to the best of your ability. Again, I've told what provisions you guys can use during the test. Make sure that you're staying within of those boundaries. You're not accessing any of my videos, or you don't have any digital copies of notes. Those are the two main factors. Digital copies of notes you cannot use, or any of my videos. Just reiterating that for you guys. Again, available for questions if you have them. Other than that, good luck. I'll see you after class. All right, getting us started off for my ceramics class. This is ceramics coils. We're talking about coils today. What are coils? Coil projects that you guys are doing, you have two projects that you're designing. One is the coil vase. For that coil vase, nice tall vase, I want to make sure that you have enough space to properly decorate the outside of that vase structure. Make sure that you have an image that you've researched to bring in so that you have that piece to go on the outside. Remember, you're bringing them into me, or you're going to send me an email so that I can print those things off. Then we're going to transfer those things onto the exterior of the pieces once they come out of the kiln. These ones do have to be fired first, so make sure that you've smoothed those things out. For the coil vase, make sure that you smooth out the interior and the exterior so that both sides are perfectly smooth. This goes for two reasons. Number one, you need a nice smooth finish on the inside and the outside to ensure that all those coils are properly joined together so that you have a nice finished completed vase and all of that works together. Two, second reason that you have to do this is because you want to make sure that you have a nice smooth surface for your decoration component. If you have bumps and ridges in the surface, that will make it a lot harder to do the illustrations on. My best suggestion is to go through the different tools, look at the way that the tools are shaped in the box there. If you need to use a elongated tool to smooth the pieces out, use that to refine over those edges so that it is as smooth as perfectly possible. Look at it from the side, make sure there's no bumps that you're having to really kind of draw and work around. That just makes your life a lot harder, and want to try and minimize that as much as possible. For the coil bowl, that second one there, the coil bowl piece you are building inside of the plastic bowl container, make sure that you've lined it with the newspaper as I've illustrated in my video. Watch the video again if you need more tips, and I want to make sure that those designs that you're doing that we're getting into in just a second, but as you're putting in those coil pieces, that everything goes in a nice even format, because we are going to be decorating the interior of those bowls when we are finished with this project. Now, on to some specifics with that bowl. One of the things that I put on the information there was the exterior of the bowl has to have some sort of a design element to that. The reason that we want to have a design element is because of what we're going to be doing to finish these pieces off. So for the design, your theme is based around symmetrical patterns, symmetry. Everything should have a balance. If it doesn't have a balance, it's going to be off, asymmetrical. We want to make sure these are symmetrical pieces. Now, if you can be divided out 1 and 2, 3 and 4, so like a north and south, east and west kind of structure to it. Or if you want to do 3, you can totally do 3 just the same, but make sure that on those pieces that everything is balanced out from the center point. Make sure everything is equalized out as you go out. On the interior of these bowls, you want to make them as smooth as perfectly possible. Reason we want to make them smooth is so that we can ensure that we can decorate the interior of them just the same. For this, you're going to be doing a lot of coil designs, a lot of coil rolling. As you're rolling out those coils, make sure that you're using this section of the palm of your hand as you're rolling out the coil, because that is what keeps it nice and smooth and even. Consistency is key for all ceramics, very much so for coils, because you want to build up the same amount of thickness across the entire space. All right, good luck, guys, and I will see you guys later at the end of class. So make sure that all those checkpoints are done for the class, and if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Let's get into some mark making. Now, for my service design class, you guys are getting into mark making today. What is mark making? Mark making is we're making marks on paper. That's really it. There's not really a lot of high thought for that. But what this is telling us is how we create tools, how we use different things inside of our classroom, how we are creating marks on paper. Now, what is that? What are we supposed to do for that? I've collected a section of materials that you guys are going to combine together to create different tool items. These tool items are then used to make different marks via paint on the back of your notes explosion book. This thing, so you're going to take the back side of this that you have as the blank paper. We're going to be doing a different mark making patterns on the outside of this. Now, you're not going to do your marks on there initially. You're going to first do them in your sketchbook. Why are we doing them in sketchbook first? Because I want you guys to have a practice of how it is applied to it. You might find that as you made different tool pieces up, that you have pockets, holes, missing pieces where you put down a stamp, you think it's going to be perfect, but it doesn't, because of how the paint is either attached to the tool itself or how the tool is being stamped onto the paper, and you're going to have those negative spots, the parts where there's no paint there. I want you to test out all of those different pieces in your sketchbook first before you start transferring them over to the final piece. Now, for this, you're going to come up with at least 5 tool designs, 5 things that you've created for mark making process, and you're going to have 16 different patterns. In your sketchbook, I would shoot for 20 different patterns, because some you're going to like more than others, and if you have a couple that you don't like, you got backups just to fill in those spaces. Again, using 5 different tools, that is the minimum. You might want to make 10, or you might want to make 20 different tools. Each one has a different mark, and those are the ones that you want to use. That's perfectly fine by me. You guys have full carte blanche in making those tool pieces with the materials that I've got provided. If you have something at home that you'd like to bring in and use in place of that, perfectly fine with me as well. Do double check with me, and I want to make sure that it's mainly so that the things don't break down while you're using it. I want to make sure they're consistent as much as possible. You're going to be making 5 tools minimum, testing them out in your sketchbook. You want at least 20 different pattern designs, and all of those designs are done in the sketchbook. So that's the overall for today. If you have a couple that you want to go ahead and start transferring on the paper, you can. You got me if you got questions. Otherwise, catch you guys later. See you guys. Hey guys, welcome back to class. So today's class is a Wednesday, and what does that mean? Art History Day. For art history, we're going to be going onto Canvas and clicking on the art history that we have selected for us. Now, the art histories do vary; they do flux, but by what you do, but they all base around 3 very simple components. Number 1, you have the description, which tells us what you see in the overall image. What do you see in the painting? You're listing those 6 things. What do you see? Just, I see this, I see this, I see this. Those are those I see statements. Number 2, you have your interpretation. Why did the artist come up with the decisions that they made in creating of this piece? Why did the artist decide to do the reasons, the pieces as they did? Look these things up. Find a blog, find a video, find some sort of research. Don't use Wikipedia just because it's not a quantifiable quality source for information. Biography, or if you have an independent blog, if we're doing some modern artists, find an independent blog, them saying why they did what they did to help justify your reasons, your rationale, your meaning behind your interpretation. For this 7 to 11 sentences, completed sentences on the overall piece, not I think that they did this because of this, and well, I like it because I like it. Does not make a full sentence structure. What I'll do is I'll probably combine those 3 sections of a sentence into one sentence, and then you have to finish off the other 6 to 10 sentences to finish off that section. Make sure that you're being concise in what you're trying to explain. Again, this is an opinion. As long as I can understand why you think what you think and how you got to that resolve, you have pieces, examples from the image itself, from the artwork that justify your rationale, you got the points. Even if I think you're wrong, you justified it by seeing something in there that you saw, and you want to use that to explain your reasoning, your rationale, you get the points. On to the second one. There is the judgment. The judgment is the number 3rd part there. For the judgment section, you're doing 7 to 11 sentences in this one as well. And for the judgment, you're telling me whether you like the piece, you don't like the piece. Falls under the same category as the one before this. Make sure that you have full, completed, thought-out sentences. Use justification of the image or the art, life of the work of the artist, if you've researched more of them, to justify your meanings, whether you like the piece, you don't like the piece. That is fine. You might find a piece, Diego Rivera's May 3rd painting, where it was the slaughtering of civilians by the Spanish Inquisition, and people, they're mad about the Inquisition. They're mad that these people were killed, but you like the painting because it says truth to history, that these people were taken out of their homes and persecuted for no reason whatsoever. They're wearing white shirts to justify that they were innocent. There was nothing wrong with them. You have military people coming to take them away, coming to take them down. You are justifying why you think what you think, using substance in the work. That's the stuff that I'm looking for. Again, all this is opinion based. Sell me on your opinion. You got the points. So knock out those 3 sections. Get it turned in. Remember, I like it done online. So if you can go ahead and submit it through Canvas, through that Word doc. If it's not working, worst case scenario, send it to me in an email. Make sure it's all written out. Had one student write it in notes, copy and paste it into an email, so I have it fully there. iCloud just doesn't work the same. Make sure all that stuff is taken care of. Other than that, you guys know how to find me if you guys have a question. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Ciao. All right, guys, we're getting into day 2 of our coils here. Now, for the coil piece for my ceramics class there, on these coils, make sure that you're smoothing those coils out. This is by far one of the most important things that you guys can do. This is an integral part of the This is an integral part of the sculpture ceramic making process, is making sure that pieces are smoothed out properly. Use the different tools, use a wet sponge, use a paintbrush to get a little bit of water in there to smooth out those pieces. You want to make sure those textures, those surfaces are smooth as possible. Now, if you've started working on this the day before, which I hope you did, make sure that you're adding a little bit of slip onto those coils, so as you're attaching those coils, they have something to grip onto. And the reason being is because we're taking fresh clay that's out of a bag, and you're taking some built clay. Let me put my hand like this, and you're adding that fresh clay to it. You want to put a little slip there just to make sure that the water amount in the fresh clay and the water amount in the piece that you've already built start to equalize and make about the same. That's why we put the slip in there. Slip is to make sure that those two pieces are hydrating at the same rate so they interlock together. If you need to, there's what's called scratch and score, which is where you scratch the surface with a tool. Where you're scratching the surface with a tool, using something to rough up that edge a little bit, put the slip in, so then you're filling up those components and filling up the components with the fresh clay, and you're fusing together and locking together, creating that nice, even, smooth finish piece. All those things work together. After you've done that, just keep on building, keep it on going. If you're working on the bowl, you're working on the vase, get those two things done, smooth things out. For the bowl, the texture that we're going to see, the design aspect is going to be laid on top of the paper, so that part's not going to be smoothed out. So we'll see how the coils were folded into the bowl shape, so that one don't have to worry about. Make sure you're smoothing out the interior. I put a little bit of slip on the inside there too. Keep it as smooth as possible. Want to have a nice even finish, so I don't have any bumps at all. I want to try and make it as smooth as possible for my design. As always, if you guys have questions, you know where to find me. I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one. Later. Day 2 of mark making. I hope that you guys had fun last time, because we're going to be redoing it again today. Again, today is a continuation of the day before. You are making the mark making tools. Remember, 5 is the minimum. 20 different designs in your sketchbook. Dip it in paint. See how the mark looks. Test it out. See what you like. See what you don't like. Examine how these marks are made. These are the things that I wanted to really focus on today. Examine how those marks are made. When you put it down on paper, is there parts of the mark that you like or parts of the mark that you don't like? Can you alter it? Can you twist it? Can you bend it? Can you flip it? Can you bop it? We're going to do like a bop it commercial here. Finish out those testing of how you want to integrate that texture, how you want to integrate that mark, so that is in that design, everything is flushed out. It looks really cool. I look forward to seeing a lot of cool examples, a lot of cool testing today, a lot of figuring out how these things work. Mix and match colors. Do a different color. Make a color. I only buy primary colors. I buy the flat level of colors, so that you guys have to make your own colors. If you need a purple, you got to mix some red, you got to mix some blue, and make the purple that you want. Don't just assume that is going to be there for you. Change up the color spectrum. What do you find interesting? What do you find as integration? How do you want to put that in? You might want to take that mark and overlay them and give 2 different types, 2 different examples, and mix up the colors. That would look really cool. Then you get depth, you get space, you get structure, you get something where there's levels to it. That is interesting. Find it engaging, find it interesting, put it in the sketchbook. Ones that you like, circle them, make sure that you know those are the ones that you're going to put onto the final piece, which is at the back side of that explosion book. Decorate those up. 16 have to be filled in. 20 is the minimum in the sketchbook, so you got some extras to play with. And I'll see you guys. If you have questions, you know where to find me. I will answer any of those questions I possibly can. Other than that, I will see you guys later. Have a good one. Ciao. All right, my ceramics class. We're on day 3 of the coil vase piece. Day 4, maybe. We're working on the coil vase. What does that mean? Today, you got to have it done. What are we looking on that coil vase? On the coil vase, again, the interior and the exterior are smoothed out properly. If during the build today you want to take a tool and carve in different designs, different patterns in there, and actually pull some of the clay out, you could totally do that today. The clay should be at what we call the leather hard stage. There's 3 different stages in the raw clay phase. You have raw, fresh clay right out of the bag. Then you have the leather hard phase. The clay should feel cool to the touch. It feels a little bit like leather. There's that softness component. It's still like that dark grayish color, because this is the low fire clay. All that stuff has got water in it still, but it's still, you can kind of carve into it without it breaking. Bone dry is where we don't really want to touch it anymore. That's when it is that ashy white color. When you touch it, you get dust on your hands. It's dusty. It's dry. It feels like the desert. Times like that, that's when you want to make sure you're stepping away from the piece altogether and it is done, it is finished. If you're carving your name in the bottom of the piece, which I hope you did already, make sure you do that at the leather hard phase. Do not do it during the bone dry phase. The piece is just too fragile. Don't want you to risk breaking it. During this phase, also in the leather hard phase, you could do two alternating decoration techniques. One is sgraffito, the other one is called mishima. Mishima is a Japanese technique, sgraffito is the Italian technique. Now, sgraffito is the Italian technique for these pieces. If you have a design and you wanted to carve a design into, paint some glaze, some slip over it, where the glaze or slip goes into the recess sections, and then you carve off the top layer. That is the mishima technique, where you've done a design, you've laid on the slip, and then we're going to carve off of the top. That is mishima, where it's already laid in there. Sgraffito, to scratch. You're going to put slip glaze on the outside of it, and then we're going to scratch through that glaze to give us our finalized design. And that's going to be our final one there. So if you are, however you guys want to play with that to give off your design. Again, these are to accentuate the designs that we're going to be putting on there with glazes afterwards, but just kind of play to it. Put your notes in your sketchbook so you know what you did, how you did it, and what processes worked for you. You might want to illustrate these things out. Grab scrap piece of clay, little one. Do a little test run on it. That is always what I recommend. Test it before you put in the application. I want to make sure you're successful so we don't have a catastrophic failure at the very end. I want to make sure we minimize that as much as possible. As always, if you guys have questions, you know where to find me. Otherwise, I will see you guys later. Have a good one, guys. Ciao. Welcome to the final day on mark making. For mark making today, you guys are just completing out the stuff that we've already done. If you have outside tools that need to be built, build the tools out, knock them out, get the designs into the piece, and then start putting those designs on the back of the exploded paper. You're covering that with all those designs. 16 in total for the final is what is due. I want to see how you are integrating different patterns, different techniques, how the different lines or motion of color or motion of the pattern really dictates what you're trying to showcase. Do something cool, do something interesting. If you have questions, you know where to find me. Otherwise, good luck. I'll see you guys later.